What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So I'm in a new location. I moved from one apartment to another apartment. I'm still in Medellin, Colombia. And I want to talk today about self-checkout because last month I saw that Kroger has a few stores that are self-checkout only. So they don't have anyone working the registers in the store. And I thought that was very, very interesting because now we're seeing stores go to 100% self-checkout. And so I want to talk a little bit about this. I'm going to show you guys a clip first, and then we're just going to kind of break this down because you guys know how I feel about the whole self-checkout thing and how you're seeing these companies move to self-checkout. And there's a reason why they're doing that, obviously, because they can make more money by doing that. But also you can have less people working in a workforce, so you have to pay less salaries. And when it comes down to things like Social Security and other programs like that, they will suffer as a result of this. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification, and then click all. By clicking all, you'll get notified anytime we post a video. We do daily videos here, so by clicking the bell notification and clicking all, you should be getting updated every day. And just a reminder, thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter and Threads, you can at the TEC Show Live. If you also like to follow my travel adventures in Medellin, you can do that on Instagram at Travel Explore Click. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this. But first, before we do this, I want to show you guys this clip, and then we'll come back. Here we go.
Place your item in the bagging area.
They are supermarket contraptions.
Help is on the way.
Causing super headaches.
Place your item in the bagging area.
The self-checkout lane.
I hate self-checkout. Those machines do not work.
Last resort. Last resort for me.
But despite the hate, stores are ringing up even more of them.
I always have to call somebody to come over anyway. It makes such a difficult time.
Kroger, one of the nation's largest supermarket chains, has just converted one of its stores to self-checkout only. Walmart and Dollar General also experimenting with no-man registers.
If your store went full self-checkout, how big of a problem would that be for you?
Huge.
But are we now at a point where it is here to stay forever?
Oh, yeah. I don't see we're turning back on this.
Stu Leonard Jr. owns 7 stores in the New York area and says he's noticed an obvious trend.
The younger people embrace it and love to use it more than older people. I don't see much gray hair in the self-checkout line.
He says 75% of his customers still prefer human cashiers, so he's keeping them. But there are labor savings with self-checkout.
We have one cashier for one customer at the regular checkout lane. Over here, we try to have 8 of them, I think, and we have 2 people on board right now. The ratio now goes 4 to 1.
There's some growing pains associated with it.
Just like any technology, self-checkout, there are growing pains.
Here's where things can really go off the rails. This can of beans, no problem. These organic bananas, well, that's a whole nother story.
Help is required for this item. Help is on the way.
Leonard believes the technology will get better and customers will get more used to it. Others, however, aren't as optimistic.
I don't think that there's one shopper in the nation who would like to go to an all self-checkout store. And frankly, as these retailers are putting in more stores that are only self-checkout, I think their sales are going to decline.
By one estimate, 95% of stores now have some form of self-checkout, so it's unlikely any of them will bag the concept soon. George Solis, NBC News, New York.
Okay, so now one of the things that I really was interesting to me is the fact that you saw that man that was really, really upset with the self-checkout. And I'm telling you, it is frustrating when you go to a self-checkout, especially if you have, let's say, 10, 15 items and you have to scan all those items. It gets pretty ridiculous because things go wrong. I have not gone to a self-checkout. If I have 1 or 2 items, I very rarely go to self-checkout first off. But if I'm forced to, and when I say I'm forced to, what we're seeing a lot of is we're seeing maybe one actual person working a register or 2 people working a register, and then you look at that line and the line is really long and you have 1 or 2 items. So of course, yeah, you'll go to the self-checkout because that's really your only option. I mean, you can wait in line for 15 minutes or you can go through the self-checkout. So if I'm shopping, if I'm going to a grocery store and I have a lot of items, and generally I shop, that's the way I shop. So I might shop once a week. So I'm going to have 15, 20 items. I'm not going to self-checkout for 15 or 20 items. And so you saw how frustrating that man was. And I know every time I go through a self-checkout and I have 15, 20 items, something goes wrong and I need some assistance. I need someone there to help me. Now, luckily, there's usually someone there that will help you, but it does get a little frustrating. So now you have to stop and wait for someone to come help you, when the reality is, if we didn't have self-checkout, they would be helping you anyway, and you wouldn't have to wait. And so it is a little bit frustrating. Now, I thought it was very interesting when they were talking to the store owner, and he was talking about the fact that if he has people working the cash register, it's 1-to-1. So one cashier working and you have one customer. Now, when it comes to self-checkout, he can have 8 self-checkouts and only 2 people working those machines. So now the ratio is 4-to-1. And so what he was saying is he doesn't have to hire as many people because now he has the self-checkout. And so the reality is the store is bringing in more revenue because they don't have to pay as many salaries. And guess what? The worst part about this whole situation when it comes to self-checkout is who's doing the work. You're doing the work. So you're going into a store, you're shopping, and then you're doing the work at the cashier, which is crazy to me. You're an employee at that time because you're doing the job that they used to pay people to do. And I've heard all the arguments here when it comes to less cashiers. Yes, the stores are going to hire less people, but then the argument is, well, those people will be in the technology realm. So they're now creating these machines. And so you'll need to hire more people when it comes to research and development and things like that. Now, I've always said this, when it comes to a cashier, I know a cashier is physically in the U.S. and they're helping out when it comes to the payroll tax. And that's one thing that we're missing here. The fact that we have less people in the workforce. That's why Social Security, the program right now, the trust fund is running out of money because we don't have as many people. We don't have enough money coming in through the payroll tax. And so now they're drawing from the trust fund. But if you had more people in the workforce, then you don't need to draw as much from the trust fund. And you could get to a point where you have so many people working that Social Security program is fully funded just by the payroll tax, and you don't have to even touch the trust fund. But we're going in the wrong direction right now because with technology, we have less and less people actually working. Now, like I said, the argument can be those jobs are going to research and development, they're going to sales, and so they're not going to be cashiers anymore, but they're moving into different areas. And some people even say, well, higher paying jobs. Well, we don't know all the facts. What I do know is if I have a cashier working in a store, that person is in the U.S. and they're paying into the payroll tax. But what if that person wasn't in the U.S.? They wouldn't be paying into a payroll tax. And so what about the people who are manufacturing and building these machines? If they're not building them in the U.S., they're not paying into the payroll tax. And the research and development, if it's not coming from the U.S., they're not paying into the payroll tax. So we really need to take a hard look when it comes to self-checkout. And you saw older people like me, generally do not like to go through the self-checkout, but the stores are continuing to have self-checkout. And the reason why they're continuing to have these self-checkout, because financially it makes sense for them. The store can make more money. You don't have to pay any type of benefits to a self-checkout machine. Whereas if you have someone working for you, you have to pay their benefits. And so even though people don't like the machines, they're here to stay. And we see that now we have some stores that are starting to experiment with the 100% self-checkout. And so in the future, you're going to go into a store and you're going to do all the work and you're not going to get anything out of it. And that's another thing. And just think about it this way. If I, let's say, get milk, a carton of milk, and I go to self-checkout, am I getting a discount? Am I getting a discount to go to self-checkout? I'm actually doing the work. So they have someone that's standing there, but I'm going through the self-checkout, I'm scanning it, I'm bagging it myself, and then I'm walking out of the store. The price is the same for me to do that as it is if I go to a cashier. I don't get any discount. And so the store is making the same amount of money on me when it comes to me buying that carton of milk, going to self-checkout, as they are if I went to a cashier. But if I go through a cashier, it costs the store more money because now they have a physical person that's working that machine, and they have to pay them a salary, and they have to pay them benefits, and they have to pay into the payroll tax. That's another thing. When we're talking about the payroll tax, the employer pays 6.2%. the company also pays 6.2%. And so if the company doesn't have an employee, they don't have to pay the 6.2%. And so if they have a machine in place of the employee, they don't have to pay that 6.2%. And that machine is not paying 6.2%. And so when I'm talking about the whole FICA tax, that payroll tax, that's why you see companies are saying we can save a lot of money by doing this, and we'll just have the customers do our work for us. So I want to know what you guys think about this, so let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.